Hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome to day three. Oh, yeah, day three of today's live section. Like I said earlier, we're having 7 days. Hi, our guest is already here. Don't worry, I'll soon call you. Let me introduce you first. I'll soon accept your invitation. I'm trying to get on Facebook. Welcome everybody. This is day two of today's of the 7 days live section. It's been awesome from day one, day two, day three. Today is day three, and I am sure we're going to have a very good time. I'm trying to set my Facebook. Today we have a very interesting topic that even I myself I am itching to hear. So if I can itch to hear today's topic to get blown away by the conversation, then you know that we are in for a whole lot today. I don't know what is happening to my other phone. I'm trying to connect on Facebook. It's not just Facebook people, so they will not chew me raw. Okay, I think I'm getting it. Oh god. Okay, so like I said, our guest is already online. We're supposed to feature him yesterday. I hope Instagram have sent notification to followers. But he was, held up somewhere, and I did apologize yesterday on his behalf. Okay, so today he is here live and direct in his flesh, body, soul, and spirit. I'm trying to hang my second phone on the ring light so that I'm so sorry. 1 minute, please, because Facebook people need to, be part of this. Part of this conversation. I hope it doesn't go off again. Oh, okay. I did all of this, so my cameras were set. Everything was fine. I just discovered that my phone went off, and I have to start the setting from the beginning. Okay. Okay, so while we're at it, when the Facebook app comes up, I'll just have to continue because this is a 35 minutes conversation. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. All right, so tonight we have Terry Willington. I hope I got the pronunciation correctly. Apologies, I'm supposed to bring you on board while I read you to come on board first. I want you to come online before I start. I've accepted the okay. Okay.
Hello. Good evening.
Hi. Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Our guest is here. All right. I hope you can hear me loud and clear.
Yes, very clearly I can.
Okay. So I want to officially introduce you.
Thank you very
So
much.
we have tonight Terry. Like I said, if I didn't get the pronunciation of your name correctly, you will just have to pardon me. So tonight we have Terry Willington. He's a lawyer, a spy police officer. I like that. And a private investigator. So my post was not even complete because I said you double as a legal practitioner and a private investigator. So I'm supposed to say you triple as. So Terry got his LLB from Unilag Great Apokai, that is us, was the first First Bank's Fraud and Investigation Unit for a few years. Wonderful. Worked with a finance house afterwards before he went to set up the Wellington Practice Barristers and Solicitors in 2021. So you know now, like yesterday I was telling the audience that don't worry, let's go. Yesterday I was telling the
No, no
audience
problem.
that that some of us have street experience, not just head knowledge, not just
Definitely.
book knowledge. We have the street experience. So when we're talking about street experience, this is what we're talking about. All right. So he also the firm, which is Wellington Practice Law Firm, barristers and solicitors, is a firm that engages in core litigation, debt recovery, fundamental rights, and public interest, plus matrimonial causes. In fact, all rounder. Okay, so we'll get at it. Apologies, everybody. My light is going to come up. All right. So we're going to start, and I have done the introduction, but Mr. Terry is going to tell us more about himself. So what I did not say about you, please, what did I miss? Tell
Thank
us
you very
more
much.
about yourself, please.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
you're welcome.
Well,
Yeah, you're welcome.
you've been able to mention most of the important things our audience needs to know. If I would be saying more than you've said, then I'll be delving into very personal aspects of my life, like where I'm from, my hobbies, and other stuff, or other things of that nature. But meanwhile, I will try to. I'm also a writer, although it is not relevant to this. Oh, can you hear me?
You're also a writer.
Yes,
You say you're
I'm
also
a
a
writer.
writer.
Yes,
Wow,
I write fiction.
that's cool.
I write
Wow.
works of fiction, and I also write legal pieces and opinions. Last year, I published about 15 to 16 legal articles and quite a number of short
Oh,
stories and poems too. But like I said, that is not
mm,
very relevant to today's discourse. So I decided to move that out of my profile so it doesn't stand in the way.
makes sense. Yeah, we all
Thank you
have
very much.
what we do. Yeah, we all have what we do aside law practice. You know, sometimes this
Definitely.
side or extra plus would I call it talent or what we do actually helps us to um how will I put it, just get away from the stress and all the wahala in quotes of law practice, get us to relax.
Definitely.
And for someone like me, I read a lot, so it's just something that I do to ease my mind, rethink and re-strategize. Okay, so we want to know how did you start your career in debt recovery and private investigation? You know, what actually prompts you to do that? What is the motivation behind you saying, and I'm not just doing debt recovery, but I want to go into private investigation. So share your experiences and your achievements so far. We want to know.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So, in my profile, I wrote that I was in fraud and investigation unit of First Bank for a couple of years,
Yeah.
for about 2 years, if I would be more specific. And it was while I was
Oh.
there, I began to love. I've always loved investigation informally, but it was while I was at this unit of the First Bank I began to see the possibilities and the mysteries of investigation. I loved
Mm.
to unravel seemingly naughty situations. And when I
And
do,
bring out the cat from the bag.
yes, and when I do, there's this sense of fulfillment, personal fulfillment. Nobody has to
Mm.
praise me. For the fact that I'm able to do the unraveling, I don't know, I praise myself. I praise myself, and it makes me want to do more in that regard. So while I was at the first bank, we were menans to bad people, so to speak, in quotes. We were the ones that investigated bank fraud cases. For example, let's say somebody
Mm.
suspects that a fraud has happened on their account, and they send a mail in the midnight, afraid that the fraudster might have their details. We would be
Mm.
required in very short notice after we receive the complaint from the fraud desk to either freeze the account, lien the monies in the account, place the monies on PND, or do some other things to ensure that the person who complained is not adversely affected. So it doesn't stop there. After we do that, we liaise with law enforcement agencies, majorly the EFCC, in instances where the money in question is very large and falls under the jurisdiction of the EFCC Act. Then in other instances, the Nigerian Police Force. So when we do that, then they also come in and either try to get more permanent court orders or freezing orders, because in the bank you can't freeze an account based on a mere complaint for more than 3 days. Bankers do it now and then, but if the party whose account was frozen is fully abreast with this provision of the law, then such a person can bring an action against the bank, a fundamental human rights action
Yeah.
against the bank, and
Yeah.
get hefty damages. But most times, these people, their ways are not pure, their hands are not clean, so they are even afraid to bring the
Exactly.
fundamental rights action because they know they've done one or two things that might be discovered in the process of having the matter in court. So while I was there,
Mm.
quite a number of very interesting matters came on. Instances where we had to not just investigate accounts, but go further to search through public registers, company registers, to see if there are some other assets linked to a person. Basically what the EFCC will do. So, and most times, when you take these steps, you begin to see very interesting things. A person
Wait.
steals about 100 billion. You don't see a single, in fact, his account is empty. So where's the money? Or a person is alleged to have
Where
stolen
did the money
100
go
billion.
to?
Yeah,
How did he move the money?
yeah. So you check his BVN. You check his BVN. You see other linked accounts. You might be able to get the money when you do that. But if you don't, then you try to find out who his wife is, who his children are. When you get all
Mm.
that, it involves a lot of
Soft target.
spooling of information. Yeah, so most times the monies are usually in the account of either direct or extended relatives
Beneficiary.
of, yes, of very close friends. So it involves a lot of work. Most times people steal, they live very miserly lifestyle just to prevent people from knowing that they stole. They
That
deliberately present
that they have
themselves to be
money.
miserly. Yes, so that attention is not drawn to them. So investigation is very, very, very interesting in the sense that it
Mm.
unravels the hanky pankies that people are capable of playing. It unravels it and bears it entirely for you to see. And it also helps further in helping to understand the criminal tendencies of people. When you are into private investigation or general investigation, as the case may be, you begin to trust people less and less. You begin to trust people less and
Because your
less.
eyes are open to a lot of truth.
Definitely, definitely. You see a lot of possibilities you probably thought were impossible when
Mhm.
you were
Mhm.
not into investigation. So your mind
Mm.
becomes open to possibilities. If somebody says so and so happened, you wouldn't say it is a lie. You would say it is possible. Because you might have seen something similar, or you might have seen something you thought was never possible. There are times you're also required to delve into supernatural investigation. There was a very interesting case while I was at First Bank. A woman
Are
was
you
meant,
serious?
yes,
Supernatural investigation. We are very spiritual.
yes, a woman was meant to bring about $20,000 to the bank on behalf of her company. So she said when she got to Marina, she felt a very cool breeze blow on her face, and the $20,000 cash went missing.
Just vanished.
Yes.
Wow.
So she came to the bank crying that the money was with her just 5-10 minutes ago, blah, 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 blah. So there was a team that said, no, this woman is lying.
Who
She
is
lied.
going to believe her? Who is going to believe her?
Then another team said it is possible, it has happened to me before. Like it is hypnotism, blah, 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 blah. So there was a lot of back and forth. And we had up a panel to investigate the veracity of the statements she had made. Eventually, it was discovered that she was hypnotized by street, maybe not a street urchin, those spiritual people that roam on the streets. So she didn't remember the point where the money was taken from her, but the money was indeed,
Wow.
yes, the money was indeed taken from her. We had to go to the scene, all the places she passed through. She took public transportation for reasons best known to her. So, but people around,
really, how can she be with $20,000 and she decided to take public transport?
some people feel they'll be robbed if they are in a vehicle. A lot of people have many wrong, fallacious ideas. Yes, and they hold on to it very strongly. You can hardly shift them from it. So some people confirmed, eyewitnesses, that they saw her talking to some questionable people. They were like, who is this banker, properly dressed, talking to questionable persons? At that point, she didn't know what she was doing again. And they collected the money, and she had no knowledge of handing over that money to those persons.
But I want to believe that somebody must have given those spiritual people heads up that this woman is with this money or something, because they won't just know except they have like a spiritual way of knowing that this person is carrying money.
It is possible. Somebody could have given out the information on one hand. On the other hand, it is also possible there's something. I don't want to come across as if I'm promoting juju, but the supernatural exists. It exists, and it is among and with us. There is a Yoruba kind of juju people do. They call it weju. Weju simply means he has baited the eyes. He has baited the eyes with spiritual substances. So immediately those people get the ability to see specific things they requested for at the point of the wedding process. So some can see when somebody has a lot of money.
Give me luck, this is what I want. And once they enter the street, the eyes are open to somebody that has that thing.
Yes. Wow. Some can identify when someone has a lot of money. Some can identify when somebody has maybe goodwill. Okay. Yes. So, and a lot of other things like that. So it is possible she stumbled into persons like that. It is also possible that somebody gave the information that she was carrying that amount of money, and we had to investigate, visit all the places she passed through, till we discovered that people saw a banker talking to people with questionable characters, and they didn't know the relationship that existed with them. And this woman could not even remember doing all that. So they
the picture image of who she had a conversation with before the money was taken.
She doesn't remember. She doesn't remember walking with them. She doesn't remember handing over the money to them. So that's why I said sometimes investigation delves into the supernatural and the spiritual. Even though a lot of people would refuse to believe, but well, we've encountered it on a couple of occasions.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for that eye opener. So I'm just going to ask you briefly before we go into the main gist of today.
Okay.
What services do you and your organization offer? I
Okay.
know I've talked about it briefly, but beyond what I've introduced you with, what exactly what services do you and your organization offer to the public at large?
Okay, I will try to summarize as much as possible into
Yeah.
bullet points. Yeah, so we do first of all, it's the should I say our best seller is basically tracking. We track phone numbers, especially for finance houses. Somebody goes to a finance house, takes 10 million naira, 20 million naira, and all of a sudden goes off the radar. Perhaps puts off their phone and tries to do away with money that belongs to investors in the finance house. So sometimes, or most times, we get approached by finance houses to quickly track such numbers. The finance houses can also approach the police, but most times the police do it very expensively, depending on the police formation you approach. Some of them tell you to bring 500,000 for tracking. Some of them,
Anything, please, involvement in Nigeria is expensive.
yes, and sometimes they even collect the money. They don't do it. What can you do? You can't do anything to them.
That one, and that's why I keep telling people that you shouldn't even resort to that after when you want to recover your money, because at the end of the day, you might spend even more than what you're collecting.
Definitely, definitely. So we do tracking, and the tracking is not just of phone numbers. We can also track social media accounts. There has been instances where somebody opens an Instagram account, advertises a product, people pay, and immediately they do, the person blocks them.
They just zoom up. They
Yes,
just zoom up
the
on
person
Instagram.
blocks
Yes,
them.
I've had, sorry to cut you, Mr. Tari, sorry to cut you. Last year, I had those cases.
Yeah.
They just come to my DM to say, I bought this from this person, I bought that from that person. Then I said, we'll deliver in 3 weeks, in 4 weeks. I've not gotten my stuff. How can I go after the person? And I'm like, for starters, I'm strictly debt recovery. The amount that you paid, if I'm to charge you for mobility, you understand, the amount is gone. So I did a lot of pro bono for them last year, a lot of pro bono. And there are some that the number wasn't even going at all.
Definitely.
So, saying that I wanted to do tracking or tracing any of them was going to cost them even 10 times what they
More than they spent.
actually paid for. So we are talking about people scamming on social media. It's 100%. I joined the live section 2 or 3 days ago, and a lady was scammed of over $8,000 because she wanted to leave to Canada and she wanted to go through education route. In fact, these people are so good. They did a website that was like a school website in Canada. But I tell people that's why it's good to do research. That's why it's good to go for training. Like training not to be an expert, but training to understand what I'm about to do, what exactly
how does it work
is required of me.
Yeah.
Sorry to interject. Please go on.
Yeah, thank you very much. So just like you've said, to buttress your point, most times what people buy, those fraudsters are very wise. They hardly sell land on Instagram. They hardly sell houses. They sell things worth about 15,000, 20,000, 12,000, 5,000, and they sell to a lot of
people.
Yes. So when you pay it easily, and you approach either a lawyer or a private investigator, and they ask you how much was it, and you tell them it's 10K, 15K, you tell them it's not worth it. We would spend more than that.
Forget about
to unravel.
Yes, and
to unravel.
Those people would have made millions of naira from hundreds of naive, vulnerable people on the internet.
Yes, but now each individual didn't really part with so much. Each individual parted with a little. So they would be discouraged from using so much more to go after that little. And that is the case with the hundreds of thousands of people who made the payment. And the fraudster goes on smiling. So most times when we get approached to track social media accounts, which we can easily do, we don't do it because the person who have complained would end up spending far more than they lost. And in most cases, when you explain that to them, they immediately lose interest in going after the fraudster who has scammed them. So, but before I proceed to other aspects of the tracking we do, sometimes it will be very difficult to track a social media account if the social media account is being operated with very strong VPN. With a VPN, you can operate your Instagram account and set your country as New Zealand, or maybe
Exactly.
as Ghana.
That's what we're using that time when we're all
Twitter was
using
banned.
VPN when the time we had internet disconnection in Nigeria or something.
Yes,
That was it not on
Twitter.
Twitter or something that we all switched. Yeah.
Yes. Those were free VPNs.
For someone
There are
like
some
me,
very
I
expensive
put Canada
VPNs.
that time.
Yes, definitely. We all put different countries. So there are some very expensive VPNs. If you go to Google Play Store, they sell for as high as, or you pay about 100,000 every month, or close to. Those VPNs, if you operate an account under them, it will be very, very difficult, extremely difficult for anyone to track that account, because they will keep on seeing you in the foreign country you have put there. And if they try to get more information on you in that foreign country, they won't be able to. So that is and some fraudsters, they are wise enough to have reasoned through some of these things I'm talking about, like offering products that would discourage investigation or law enforcement from coming in, using VPN that would ensure that tracking is made difficult. Because these fraudsters are very wise. So one should ensure that one is always a step ahead of them. So aside phone numbers and social media accounts, we also track IMEI numbers. If, for example, a phone is stolen, even if the phone is not stolen, if any other thing is stolen or a person is being looked for, and you have the IMEI number of that phone, even if the person removes the SIM, breaks it, throws away the phone, with the IMEI number, we can get where the person threw the phone to. Let's say the person committed an offense or stole or is owing somebody in Lagos State, and he goes all the way to Zamfara State, takes his phone, he has put off his phone in Lagos, now takes his phone, breaks the SIM, throws the phone away, burns the phone if possible. With the IMEI number, or sometimes with advanced tracking with the SIM, we will see that location where he disabled, where he removed the SIM, threw it away. It might be an hotel or something. So that is where the investigation will start from. You go straight to that hotel where the person lodged in, or the house where the person, or the environment where the person did it. The person is most likely a stranger there. So some indigenes must have seen the person. Some indigenes must have seen the person. The person must have lodged in an hotel. Somebody would have been aware of the presence of a strange person in that vicinity. So that is where the investigation starts from. Then some people tell you, okay, he's still within us. Yes, he's still amongst us, or he has left. If he has left, when did he leave? Where did he pass through? And and the investigation proceeds like that. So we track majorly phone numbers, phone IMEI numbers, and social media accounts. That's for the tracking. Then aside that, we also do asset tracing, which is the topic we are talking about today. We also do asset tracing, although we don't get as many asset tracing requests as much as mere tracking requests.
I'm even coming to that, because that asset tracing is a special question I want to ask.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So, okay. All right.
So now let me try to explain. Let me try to explain asset tracing generally.
Okay.
Yes. As a function of my organization and as an aspect of the topic I'm talking about tonight. So in asset tracing, there are basic steps, 4 basic steps. And the first step is the identification of the asset.
Your
You have to,
network is fluctuating. I can hardly hear you again.
oh, is it better now? Is it better?
It's better now. It's a little bit better.
Okay. Okay. Sorry for the bad network. Okay, let me try to.
So you were explaining what asset tracing is.
Okay, is it better now?
Okay, he's trying to set it better. Yes, it's better. Oh, you changed your network,
Okay.
I guess.
No, I didn't. I just changed my
Okay.
position. Yes. I think it's better
Oh,
this
okay.
way. Yes.
So you were explaining what asset tracing is.
Yes. So, and I said there are 4 steps, 4 main steps. I divided asset tracing into 4 main steps. Some people would say the steps are more, some will say it is less. But I love to say asset tracing is divided into 4 main steps. And the first is the identification of assets. You have to identify what you're going to trade.
Okay, so I need to do a recap because as a stranger, I need to recap for my Facebook people because you were supposed to come live too on Facebook, but you're only live on Instagram, and I understand you're still in the office. So you said basically asset tracing is divided into 4 categories. The first one is asset identification, meaning to identify which asset is whose asset. Please go on.
Which is the subject of a complaint or of an investigation. After you do that, then you move into the next step.
I can't hear you. I've lost you. Network. I can't hear you. Oh, and this is a very interesting topic.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, okay, so let me recap to be sure I heard you well.
Okay.
Asset tracing, 4 categories of 4 steps. Asset identification, asset ownership. Did I get that correctly? Is that what you said?
Verification of ownership. Verification of ownership.
Verification of ownership, okay?
Yes, of the identified assets.
I can't hear you. You say?
I can hear you clearly. I can hear you very clearly.
I'm having difficulty. I'm having difficulty. So let me change my internet. Let me take it.
Okay, is it better?
Okay, can you? Yes, I have to change my data provider or network provider rather. So you said asset tracing, 4 steps or 4 category, asset identification, asset verification. Is that correct? I have to repeat what you said for the Facebook people to be on the same page with us on Instagram because we don't want to just leave people behind. Facebook people, Instagram people don't want to leave. Instagram people don't want to leave Facebook people behind. Okay, Mr. Tari, can you hear me? Can you still hear me? I can't hear you at all. Your screen is on a pause. Oh, network. Mm, oh, goodness me. Okay. All right. So we'll wait for Mr. Tari to come back. He's having network issue, but before the network started, it's bamboozly, whatever. We were talking about asset tracing, and he was I just don't want the talk to come from me. Maybe you guys are just too used to my own talk. But basically he was saying that there are two categories and steps to asset tracing and tracking. And he said the first is asset identification, which is basically who is is there an asset? Can you identify that there is an asset? I remember that there was an asset tracing we were doing last year for a matter that we got judgment on, the debt recovery matter. We got judgment on that matter, and we were trying to trace the property, and it was almost like a dead end. So you have to first identify that there is an asset, and then he said the second step is asset verification. Asset verification. Mr. Tari, please, can you send a request so that I can bring you back? Send a request so that I can bring you back. So you will have to verify, and there's a whole lot of things concerning verification. You need to know and be sure that it is a one-man kind of asset. So where you have a joint asset, I talked about it yesterday when I talked about surety and collateral. Excuse me, what is the best way to go after a debt or doing debt recovery? And I did state emphatically that where it is a joint asset, it is quite difficult to, almost difficult or totally impossible to attach that property, to use it to offset your loan or the debt that the person owes, because there, of course, if I have, for example, I'm a joint owner of a property with my husband, and I got into debt issues, and you are now saying you've traced my assets to me, you want to sell it, like so how will you properly determine which aspect of that property is my husband and which one is not his own? So a house, so you will not sell it up and leave it down. So that's why you cannot even attach um properties that is jointly owned. This is wonderful. I can hear you loud and clear. I was keeping the
Oh,
audience, in motion while we are waiting
thank
for
you very
you. So I want to recap. You said there are 4 steps or category of asset tracing. You have asset identification, and you have
much.
verification. Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
please.
So then the third step is asset freeze.
Asset
Yes.
freeze or freezing of
Yes.
assets. Yeah.
Because you don't freeze just money in the bank. You can also freeze,
Yeah.
yes, properties. Although it is frozen through some other means, court orders, and a lot of majorly court orders. So you can freeze account.
That's one of the reasons I love AMCON. They have the AMCON ads are giving them
Definitely.
big, I don't even know how to say it, the power that AMCON
Definitely
has.
very wide power to freeze account.
Very, very, I feel it's too broad. For me personally, sorry, I don't want to go into legal tantrums or so, but for me, I feel the AMCON's power is just too vast, too broad.
Yes. Too broad, but well, most times or sometimes we have people who challenge those powers in court and they come out successfully. Because those very broad powers, when they are fully exercised by AMCON, they tend to be breaches of fundamental human rights. They most times
Exactly. That's where my point
yes,
is. Breach of
they most
fundamental human
times
rights. That's just where I'm
breach
coming from.
your chapter 4 rights. For example, AMCON forcefully entered into a property which somebody purchased in a fair market. He never knew the person who sold. Yes. Yes.
A lien or anything on
Yes. He
it.
never knew. There was not even lien. But the person who sold had some problems. So the person was taken to
Mm.
court and he acquired the asset while he was embezzling some fund. So whatever powers it is they had was attached to all his assets from a particular year to another year. And it affected the person who had bought innocently from him. He had played,
Because everything will be
yes,
cruising. And until that band is
yes,
lifted, you are
yes.
stuck. There's a matter like that I'm doing
Wow.
for somebody too. Yeah.
Now he had placed,
He bought, just like, sorry, just like what you're saying. So this particular client of ours bought, so in fact, see that recovery, it's very broad. So this, there was a money laundry somewhere, okay? And part of that money was what this particular person used to buy the property. So when he discovered that he's being reported, I don't know why I have gone off Facebook. I'm so sorry. I think my Wi-Fi at home. So let me just. So when he discovered that, oh, these people are coming after me, he now quickly sold to our own clients. You understand?
yes, I
Can you hear me?
can very clearly.
Okay. So he now quickly sold to our own clients. So now they have traced everything that the house is a proceed of the money laundering.
Yes.
And so as we speak, our client's house is cruising under lock and key.
Yes. So it's a very similar.
So we're still back and forth.
He placed tenants. In fact, he converted into a plaza and placed about 40 tenants in the plaza. 2 months ago, Amcon came in the property and locked up the property and prevented even the tenants from moving out their items.
What?
Yes, they go that far.
No.
Yes, they go that far.
You see, when we're talking about that, the power is too broad.
Definitely. That's why I said most times when the Amcon exercises those powers, it ends up breaching the fundamental rights of citizens.
What is a tenant's issue with the battle
Definitely.
of not even battle of ownership or fraud or whatever? I mean, I'm a tenant. Do you expect me to investigate the title or the means of getting that property from my landlord? I mean, that's crazy.
Even the landlord himself was not aware of whatever encumbrance existed or lay on the property. So the landlord approached the court, filed a fundamental rights matter, breach of his section 43 rights to own immovable property anywhere, breach of his right to human dignity, and a couple of other ancillary rights. Yes, and he got the court to rule that
I'm causing him to also lose money.
Definitely.
Causing him to also lose money.
So he got Amcon to open the property, and he also got some damages in the space of about 2 months. He filed affidavits of urgency, but not everybody.
He must get damages.
But not everybody is this lucky. Some people sleep on their rights. They try to negotiate with Amcon. Amcon begins to push them here and there, and sometimes they go to court. They don't go.
Exactly.
Yes, they don't go properly to court. And
exactly.
They end up losing. And
sometimes you are even trying to convince the victim here that this thing is wrong. You can actually get compensation. They'll be like, I don't want problem. I don't want this. I'm like, you have no. Yeah, you are innocent in all of this. You have legal right, but
you tell them. A few years ago, I was usually on radio every Tuesday, and I would tell Nigerians that this happened to you. You have a legal right. You have a remedy here. If you approach the court, you stand a very big chance. Approaching the court will not cost you a hand and a limb. These people who suffered the oppression, they will tell you that I've left it for God. I've left it. Now every Nigerian lives it. Every Nigerian lives
it for God.
Every Nigerian lives it for God, and they say that the justice delivery system is not favoring how the justice system operates. They leave every oppression that happens to them, they leave everything for God or to God, as the case may be, and they
God has ordained this to be like that.
and they expect justice to be done in their favor. So Nigerians are a very special breed, so to speak. So moving on to the
So special.
yes, to the aspects of asset tracing, the final step is the taking of possession. We have identified the assets, we have verified the ownership of the assets, we have frozen the assets, and the final step is we are taking possession of the assets. Yeah, so like I said earlier, some people love to expand the scope of asset tracing, while some people, yes, they love to expand it, but I would summarize it into that 4 categories to enable very easy assimilation and understanding of the process. So what I will do now is I will explain these 4 steps, even though in the process of talking, we've been able to explain to an extent. But what I will do very bullet. I will do one paragraph explanation of these 4 steps. So for the first step, identification of assets, there must have been a complaint, there must be an investigation, there must be an issue, so to speak, maybe money laundering, embezzlement, and in all these circumstances, there is a complainant. The complaint has been lodged before a relevant agency. Soon as that is done, then allegations are made here and there. This money was taken. This was bought. That was bought. So based on the strength of the petition and the allegation that was brought, we then begin to identify the properties described in the petition, the allegations that were made. Let's say they described a property on number 10, an imaginary Glover Road in Abeokuta. First of all, we have to go to number 10 Glover Road, Abeokuta, if it exists, to see the property that is there and to compare that property to what is described in the petition or to the allegation that was made. Yeah, so when we do that and we discover
that's where the investigation comes in.
And it covers the first step, which is the identification of the property. So soon as we do that same property, now we have to verify if indeed the person who is alleged to own it is the owner. So now, how do we verify?
That is, hold on, so that people can follow. Okay. So when you have identified the asset, you will now try to verify whether the person that your complainant linked to that asset is truly the owner of the asset.
And that is the second stage or the second step of verification.
Yes,
which is verification. Now, how do you verify? You verify through several means. If it is a property, you verify through the land registry or land register of the jurisdiction where.
Sorry to cut you there. Land registry, that is where the person has even perfected his or her title.
Yes, that's why I said land registry, land registers, oral testimony of people around that place. But you have resort to the land registry first. I've had instances where I provided just a street name and number, and I was able to get the title in respect of that property in Lagos here and the owner.
That would have been blind search.
Yes. So, but in the event that doesn't come up with anything tangible, then we have to resort to surveillance. You have to send spies into the area, talk to the people in the area who own that building, how often does the person come around. There is no way a person would inhabit a building in a premises or in a location and the people living around would not know who the person is. Yes. So if the land registry or the land registers or the government registers of property does not work, then the people around the premises or the property would be able to tell us about the ownership of the property. So that's how verification works. You try to verify if indeed the property you have identified in number 1 belongs to the person who allegedly owns it. So now, after you do that, and you discover that, okay, this person who allegedly owns it is the actual owner of the property, then you move into the freezing of the account. That is when you can approach the court and get an ex parte. It is usually an ex parte motion or an ex parte order. You file it one time.
An ex parte motion that has a substantial suit already in court.
Yes. Yes. But now, immediately the substantive suit, the ex parte is heard first. So before the person can put his house in order and stuff, you get an injunction restraining the person from tampering with that property pending the determination of the substantive suit. When you get an injunction, this person cannot sell. This person cannot tamper with the property. The suit number of the substantive suit is written on the property. In some cases, the property is even cordoned. So that is 1-0. You are leading,
or sealed, or even sealed.
Yes, so you are leading the property owner 1-0. So that is the freezing level stage. Then at that same freezing level is when you go to court and argue the merits of the case. At that point, sometimes people argue successfully and they overturn the ex parte orders or the ex parte motions. They give reasons to show that, well, my house is not what this person claims it to be. This allegation or this petition was as a result of malice, so to speak. And, they extricate themselves from whatever legal, permit me to use the word, hula balu they found themselves in. Definitely. But at other times, the substantive matter goes against them and the property is taken away from them. A lot of properties have been taken away by AMCON after they won in the substantive matter, after previously getting an ex parte motion to freeze the property. So when the property is taken.
Okay, so I want to ask a question because we're really talking legal now, and I don't want to get the audience that a lot of them are not lawyers confused.
Okay.
Now let's leave AMCON aside. You and I understand what AMCON does. Now we're talking, this conversation is in the context of debt recovery. Definitely. And in the context of debt recovery to an average person there on the street, or to an SME, somebody that runs a small, medium business, and maybe a customer, a customer is owing some reasonable amount of money, and the person has tried all that he or she can, but the money is not out. So I want you to discuss, one of the questions I have for you is, tell us the process of asset tracing during debt recovery. Okay? So I want you to answer, you've actually answered the other question, which is steps involved in asset tracing. You had said asset identification, verification of assets, asset freezing where the court order comes in, and of course, taking possession of the property. So that is, for me, that is a little bit high, AMCON and all of that. Let's bring it down to small business people that you and I know, small company or medium company that has debt issues, and bring it to you and I to say, I want to recover this money. Now, what is the role of asset tracing in that circumstance, and can what you have just explained apply to non-AMCON cases?
Definitely. It applies to all cases, irrespective of their origins or how they come about. So, but to answer the question about the small scale businesses, the individuals, small amounts of money, asset tracing also follows the same route, but it is a bit different in the sense that houses are not involved. A 4 million naira loan, for example, a house is probably not pledged. A 2 million naira loan, for example, a house is most likely not pledged. So, the way investigation happens in such instances is majorly through tracking. Now, somebody goes to a finance
Through
house,
what?
tracking.
Through what? Tracking.
Yes, tracking of the person himself. Yes, you can do asset tracing, but most times it goes with tracking. Or most times, tracking is more applicable to such instances than asset tracing. If you want to do asset tracing in those little instances, you have to delve into the person's account. You have to either by a court order or through a banker's order, which the police use, get the person's account, statement of account for a certain period. So when you get the statement of account of the person, you try to verify, because most times when people take loans or take facilities, they tell you they want to use it for this particular purpose. I need 4 million naira to invest in Agric. I need 3 million naira to invest in my cyber cafe. So when you discover that this person is being evasive, doesn't want to pay, then you can either by a court order or a banker's order get the person's bank statement and try to trace how the person expended the loan. So from the date of the loan, you see the bulk sum as a credit. Then you begin to study the debits. Now, if the debit, you would easily know if the debit went into the business or went somewhere else. So if the debits went somewhere else, then you know that funds have been diverted.
Diversion of
Definitely,
funds.
you successfully traced where the funds went to. So you can take it a step or a notch higher by investigating the persons who got the funds. You can take it a step higher by investigating the person who got the funds.
Oh, Mr. Tari, your network, it was getting really interesting. Once you're able to come online now, we just
Yes.
try to round.
Okay.
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 I lost you
Oh,
at the
really
time. Yes.
sorry about
Yeah.
that. So
So you said where you are able to, where you stop was, you said where one is able to trace the diversion of the funds, you now investigate where the fund was
yes.
diverted into.
So it's in two ways now. There are criminal and non-criminal diversions. If a non-criminal diversion is done, the man takes the money, his family needs money. He pays house rent. He pays house rent. His friend needs 5,000 naira. He gives his friend. He goes to church and tells his church members that he was able to get.
But that's not the essence of the loan.
Yes,
That's not the
yes. But
essence.
that diversion now, he would be solely responsible. He wouldn't go against the church that he gives 20K. He wouldn't go his wife. He wouldn't go against his wife that he gave 50K for foodstuff out of that money. We would go against him. We would go against him as a person. But now, in the event that he, let's say, takes the money and moves it to a friend, he takes 4 million, sends to his friend, or sends the bulk of the money to somebody, maybe not as a repayment for a loan, but we notice that that person benefits from whatever it is he does. Then at that point, we can go after him and the person to whom he sent the money. The person will be treated as a beneficiary of the diverted funds. But now, if
And that is the criminal, the kind of the criminally inclined
yes,
diversion.
all forms of diversions are criminal.
Aha.
But in the second one, in the second type of diversion, other people
It's
are
not severe.
investigated along
Involved.
with the person who took the money. Yes, and majorly we do that with the aim or with the aid of bank statements. With the aid of bank statements, you can easily investigate the flow of money, get the beneficiaries, as the case may be. So now, how does tracking come into play in such circumstances? When you get the statement, you have the phone number, you have the name, you have the branch where the account was open, you have the KYC documents most times. So with the KYC document,
Okay.
you can easily track. Most times the phone numbers are functional. You can track. If the phone numbers are no longer
Yeah.
functional, you can go to the person's address. The person might have moved, but that would be the person's last known address. And there will be a couple of neighbors or persons around who has the person's most recent phone number. So with that, you begin your tracking and your tracing. And so far the person is within the shores of Nigeria.
Well, network.
Solicit the
Okay,
services
we
of
have to round up. Very interesting topic. Yeah, I was saying network is really bad. We will just have to, quicken it a little bit. Yeah, please go on. I can't hear you again, Mr.
Wow, I can hear
Tari.
you very clearly. Very clearly.
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
I can hear
Okay.
you
So
now.
so I was saying that then it becomes very difficult to track.
I've lost you again. I've lost you again. Network is bad. Network is bad. What is happening? And hey, God, see people on Instagram just joining the chat. Eh? I don't know. Mr. Tari, if you can hear me, please. Okay. Yes, 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 I can hear you now. Please
I
go
can hear
on.
you all along very, very clearly.
Yes, go on. Go on,
Well,
please. Go on with your
let me continue.
explanation so that we can
Definitely.
round up. Yeah.
Okay. So I was saying that if the beneficiary of the funds, for example, has left the Nigerian jurisdiction, then it will be very difficult to track such a person. Either the person
To track the person.
definitely,
Now I have to do international tracking.
definitely you have to work very closely with the Interpol to apprehend the person.
And that will cost a fortune.
Definitely.
That will cost a fortune.
Definitely. So when it gets to that point, people become discouraged. When the Interpol tells you how much they
Mm,
charge, they become discouraged because you end
mm.
up spending close to or more than what it is you lost. You understand? So you just have them saying, okay, we're leaving it. Or one day we might be able to get this person. But they just resign to fate and consider the logistics and
Okay.
costs. Yes. So that is
Yeah.
asset
Okay.
tracing.
Okay, Mr. Tari, I'm going to ask you. Oh, okay, you're still talking. Yes. Yes, please go on. Okay, that's the summary. Okay. Of asset tracing and tracking. Now, I want to ask you the last question because we've overspent our time. This was supposed to be like max 35 minutes conversation, but because of how interesting this topic is, we've used almost an hour, if not an hour plus. I'm going to ask you the last question, very important. Now, for me, I am a preacher of prevention is better than cure. And when I say prevention, like somebody asked in my DM, can you hear me, please? I want to be sure that you can hear me. Can you hear me? It's a Tari. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, please? Okay, you can hear me. All right. So I said I am a preacher of prevention is always better than cure. That's one. And I've had people ask me different questions like, is it possible to run a business that is totally debt free? And my answer had always been yes or no. Yes, where you don't extend credit at all to your customer, whether in form of service, supply, or products. No, where your business extend credit. No matter how you do it, one way or the other, people will owe you. But my own, where I really, emphasize more is there are different types of debt, or for me, there are two types of debt: potent and easily recoverable debt, and bad debt. There are debts that are really bad. I've had debt situations come to my table where it's already statute bad. So when I go through the history, I see that this matter is already statute bad. The best we can do is to try to like mediate and see what we can bring out. And then I see some that the structures and the modalities of the business transaction were totally off it, and there is really nothing really nothing tangible, that's the word, that a business person can hold on to say, this is what I'm going to hold on to recover my money. So having said that, my question is, for a small, medium business owner, you have just told us now that international tracking will cost a fortune, if not almost the amount of money. Now, for what's this thing called now? For tracking and asset tracing within Nigeria, it's still doable because of the amount of, at least we're still in Nigeria, so whatever we're doing is within jurisdiction. What is your advice for small, medium business owners on how they can spend less doing debt recovery, whether they are doing asset tracing, whether they're doing tracking, local, international? Because for me, I am a preacher of, you should not use more than the profit you have gotten from a particular business transaction or that you will get to pursue a debt. So I went into a business transaction of 5 million, for example, and my profit from that money is 1.5 million. So what I'm expecting is 6.5 million. How do I, as a small, medium business owner, avoid spending up to 3 million, up to 3.5 million in recovering 6.5 million that the recovery sum or fee has already taken my profit, and even go deep into the capital of the business? So that's just what I want you to tackle for me before we go. Thank you. Mr. Terry, I cannot
I
hear
can hear
you. I'm
you.
not the only one
I
that
can
cannot
hear
hear
you
you. So,
very clearly.
all right. So please, if you have any question, drop in the comment section. There's so many people online here from Instagram. If you have question, please drop in the comment section. Yes, please go ahead. Go right ahead.
Very high rates of debt. There will be very high rates of non-performing loans. There will be very high rates of written off loans, as the case may be. So now, where is a proper compliance culture in place? You would give out little sums of money. You would be more circumspect before you extend credit facilities. And when you extend the credit facilities, you would back it up with what that was lost as a result of profitable business. You can reduce the cost of tracking and recovery or asset tracing as a small, medium scale business owner. It's basically by treating all your customers as suspects and not being, when I mean suspects, I mean suspect.
Where is my tambourine? Where is my tambourine? I want to hit
Yeah, I mean,
tambourine for you. I just love what you said. You see, when we as lawyers are trying to tell business people that you must think like a criminal when you are doing business transaction is always like, no, 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 no. That's because we know that you just said you must treat every of your business transaction and your customer as a what? A
And
suspect. Yes, because
yeah,
money
definitely.
changes
So I
people.
would go for that. And sometimes it doesn't even change them, but circumstances beyond their control happens to them,
Yeah,
and they
e.g.
definitely.
COVID-19.
And aside that, some other forms. Them continues to stay on your mind, but these people are sinking. But they wouldn't come to tell you they are sinking. And when you eventually discover that they've sunk, it'll be too late. It'll be too late. You know, they've sunk irreparably, irretrievably, and the only thing you can do is if they have dot checks, you send them to prison or do some other things that will not bring your money back.
This is what I was saying yesterday, doing yesterday's live section. It's good I coming from another lawyer. Yes, please go on.
When they are small, they might not be able to have a compliance department, so to speak. They can get an external lawyer versed in compliance and retain that person. That credit obligation, you immediately swing into recovery. You don't let so much time pass. And when I mean swing into recovery, you don't necessarily have to burn bridges, go Amcon style, and try to, become very belligerent.
Try to do power
Yes, you can.
play. I call it power
Yeah,
play with little or no
yes, I would
money.
advise restructuring. Let's say the person has 30 months to pay 10 million about per month, and you discover this person is in distress. You can restructure for the person. You make the person pay for 7, 8 months at the rate of 50K or 60K or something manageable, and the loan continues to run normally. But now, in the instance that the person,
As long as the person is servicing the loan.
yes, in the instance
Yeah.
where the person has fled,
Call him out. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. But you can't call out the police because are you supposed to have even used them for death recovery in the first place? Yeah. Oh, okay. So I don't know. I cannot hear you
I can hear
again.
you clearly. Yes, I can hear
Okay.
you clearly. So I was trying to
Okay.
summarize. I was trying to say, first of all, you must treat all your two. When they become indebted to you or to your business, the first means you would explore is to try to restructure and to see if they can pay in littler installments. A lot of people have their credit problems solved when they get a restructuring. Now, in the instance that restructuring does not work, and the person who owes is trying to become evasive or trying to leave jurisdiction, then you can immediately swing into tracking, asset tracing, getting statements, doing all those things we mentioned in the earlier part of basically just
All right. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much.
welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for today. Yeah, thank you so much. You said something that reminded me. There's what we call in credit risk management. There's what we call credit risk check, regular credit risk check, and I do tell my clients that, especially those that are really exposed to credit, money lenders, suppliers, suppliers, e-commerce, vendors, you are exposed to credit extension because your business cannot survive without you extending credit. That's the truth. So I always teach them, for those that I have opportunity to like train their staff, I used to say, conduct credit risk check on every customer, every transaction. So meaning that if you had done a transaction with a particular customer in the morning, let's say 10 million, and the person paid, and the person is coming for 20 million, you do not assume, because the person has paid 10 million, he will automatically pay 20 million. Credit risk check is done per customer, per transaction. I had a client like that gave out some goods, and this has been a regular customer that is always paying. And for this particular business transaction, he felt, oh, he was at peace, at ease, like you said, oh, this is my regular customer, he will always pay. And he didn't know that while the guy was doing 500,000 pay, do 700,000 pay, he was trying to win his
Definitely.
trust for a higher sum. So that is why we always say as lawyers, do you have a criminal mind somehow? Because if I want to commit a crime, if I want to rob you of 5 million, I won't just come and rob you of 5 million. I will start by winning your trust little by little. So that was how the guy started till he got goods of 10 million. And would you believe that this goods of 10 million, there was no 1 naira deposit? Because the guy had started with 500,000 paid, 700,000 paid, 1.2 million paid. In fact, the guy was even paying before the agreed date. And before, by the time we started doing tracking, investigation, we saw that the guy is no more in Nigeria. So he was actually preparing the guy to get that. He actually sold those things. He had ready customers. So he sold it and took both the money and the profits. Just imagine if he had done credit risk check per customer, per client, per customer, per transaction. At least, even if the guy had deposited 5 million naira, he would have not lost totally. At least he would have had 5 million, and he'll be pursuing 5 million. So I hope somebody learned something today. Mr. Tari, thank you so much. I hope, not even I hope, I will, by fire by force, next live section, another live section, you must come on board. I had fun. I had fun, trust me. I had fun, and I've also learned 1 or 2 things. We can never stop learning. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. I know you're a very busy person. Despite your busy schedule, you still found time to like come on board with me tonight. And I can see that you're still in the office. Let me end this live section so that you can just go home. Thank you. God bless you. All right. Yes, you can exit. Mr. Terry, you can exit.
Okay.
Mr. Grab, yes, you can. Okay, you want to say something?
Well, I don't think there's need to. You've been able to summarize that to a very. I was just trying to buttress your point about people gaining trust deliberately
Okay.
It's a compliance practice. It's a compliance practice. So when it is done, you would
Yes, it is.
definitely, and when things like that are put in place, you would notice whatever it is, whatever fraud that is imminent. You might not be able to flag every one of them, but to a very large extent,
But at least you will reduce your credit
definitely,
risk level to the barest
definitely
minimum.
you would.
That's what we are
So I was
preaching.
just trying to, yeah, I was
Yes.
just trying to link what you said to the fact that compliance, to a very large extent, will reduce instances of bad credit, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. God bless you. Do have a wonderful night.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank
Bye,
you,
everyone.
Instagram people. Yeah, bye. Thank you, Instagram people. I can see quite a number of you people online. Thank you, Facebook. I am so sorry. My guest tonight could not tune in on Facebook. He's still in the office as I speak because he missed his live section yesterday. So I had to take today's topic for yesterday, and so he had to come online today. But you can watch the replay, the full replay on my Instagram feed, or you can watch on my YouTube channel, Precious Toju TV on YouTube. So I'm going to put the link here on Facebook for those of you that, were not able to, not even for those of you that the guest wasn't able to come live. And Instagram, late comers, like over 10 or 15 people came late today. I will put the replay. I will archive the replay first, and people go and drink water first before I will now post the replay. Whatever is the case, join me tomorrow. We're having a finance educator and coach coming to talk on how you can ensure how you can invest in your SME to have constant cash flow. So basically, this 7 days live chat is to teach SMEs how to have constant cash flow in the business and multiple profits, even in doing debt recovery. Because I need you people to understand that debt recovery should not put a stop to your money at all. You need constant cash flow, inflow, outflow of cash in your business. That is the only thing that will bring multiple profits. So how do you manage this? How can you manage this when you're experiencing debt issues in your business? That is what we are teaching you for free for 7 consecutive days. Trust me, if I am to bring all these people together in one master class, yesterday was a master class on its own, Monday was a master class on its own, Wednesday, if I'm to bring all of these people together to teach you this, you're going to pay money, good money at it. But we're giving this information for free. And trust me, the replay is not going to be on my feed for long. I am going to definitely archive it later. So by this time, no, within the next I think by latest by 9 a.m. tomorrow, you will get to watch the replay. I will also put it on Facebook, and hopefully my guest tomorrow will be able to log in on Facebook. Thank you guys. Thank you for joining. If you have any question whatsoever, please don't send questions to my DM. I don't attend to questions in my DM. You can drop questions in any of my posts, whether on Facebook, whether on Instagram. Just drop your question in the comment section and tag me. I will see your question. I will attend to it. But if you come to my DM, it's assumed that you want to consult with me, and I'm going to send you link to make payment for consultation. All right. See you guys tomorrow. 7 p.m. is the time. Instagram late comers. Don't come late tomorrow. Facebook people, thank you for joining. Bye. See you tomorrow. God bless you. And do have a good night.